Entering into the European leg of the F123 calendar with Austria, Silverstone, Hungary, those sort of tracks, you always need to be prepared for rain because you never know what the weather's going to be like. And this car setup provides a really stable car for wet conditions. A little bit like Baku, you need to be aware of how much aero you actually put onto the car because there are 2-3 sort of really long straights where you can just bleed lap time if you go too heavy on the aero. So it's a real balancing act. I'm talking of the aero, I've gone with 22 and 20. So there's a little bit more emphasis on the front of the car to help with responsiveness, especially through that middle of last sector where the corners are a lot faster. For the transmission, I've gone 50 and 50, which will help with getting traction down, especially out of that really slow turn 3. Then for the suspension geometry, I've gone -2.5 and -1. And I've put a little bit more toe into the setup compared to our dry setup, going with 0.03 and 0.17. Now our dry setup for Austria had a really stiff suspension to help with responsiveness. But in this setup, I've reduced that down a little bit to help a little bit more with stability and overall balance. I've gone 24 on the front suspension, which is still very stiff for a wet car setup. But on the rear, I've got it loaded down to 7, and I've also gone with 7 and 1 on the anti-roll bars. For the ride height, I've gone 36 and 42, just to ensure aquaplaning isn't an issue. For the brake pressure, I've got 95%, and then 55% on the brake bias, just like normal. And then for the tyres, I've gone with 23.1 on both front pressures and 20.1 on both rears. Really, with a wet car setup, you tend to have to get a little bit more temperature into the front tyres, which is often why I increase them a little bit for our wet setup. But then for the rears, generally you'll want to lower them a touch to help with traction and also reduce some tyre wear which can build up from spinning your wheels under acceleration. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoy this setup and which wet car setup has been your favourite so far. And for now guys, I will see you on track.